10 years ago, I played Bethesda's Pirates of the Caribbean, and I enjoyed it immensely. I had awaited a pirate adventure game with the same freedom and immersion as Bethesda's Pirates of the Caribbean for a very long time. It is confounding that pirate adventure games are such a scarcity within the video game industry. Cut to today, and we finally got the pirate game that we deserve in a brand new Assassin's Creed game, no less. What an extraordinary adventure I had with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. There is so much freedom in this gigantic and beautiful open world. In Black Flag, you play a fictional pirate assassin by the name of Edward Kenway, who lived in the golden age of piracy. Kenway sails a ship called the Jackdaw from port to port in regular pirate fashion in search of treasure. I found Kenway to be a great character. He seems to evolve quite nicely as the game goes on. His roguish charm and wit were always entertaining to watch. Actor Matt Ryan portrayed Kenway quite splendidly. Actually, it was truly an excellent performance by the entirety of the voice cast.
Privateering? Is it dangerous?
Wouldn't pay so nice if it weren't.
You cross paths with many a legendary pirate throughout the game. Blackbeard, Anne Bonny, and Mary Read, to name a few. I really liked the connections between characters. Kenway's relationships with Blackbeard and Mary Read, for instance, were pretty compelling. I found myself caring for Read and Blackbeard the more the game fleshed out their storylines.
What the hell are you doing, man? All of Charleston can see this mess. It's the idea.
As the tale goes, Captain Kenway begins searching for a very pricey artifact known as the Observatory, and ultimately, he finds himself wrapped up in the war between the Templars and the Assassins. I loved how the story utilized all the classic pirate movie tropes. My only concern with the game's story is the fact that Desmond Miles is not in the game, but we still find ourselves in present day dealing with Abstergo and the Animus. For those of you who do not know, the Animus is a machine that taps into a person's genetic code to unlock the memories of ancestors who have passed on. The whole concept in this installment of the Assassin's Creed series is that the player is playing as themselves as an Abstergo employee who uses the Animus to unlock the memories of Edward Kenway's pirating adventures. I found that in this particular Assassin's Creed game, the breaks from pirating to go back to the real world as an average Joe Abstergo employee made the game feel a little bit disjointed. It simply ruined the immersion. The Animus' rematerializing of Kenway's world simply reminded me that I was playing a video game. This was of course a minor problem with the other Assassin's Creed games as well, but because I was interested in Desmond's storyline, I was able to let it slide. Without Desmond and no new fascinating present-day plotline, the Abstergo wanderings simply just felt like a drag. I'm a big fan of the gameplay of the Assassin's Creed series. The swordplay countering system is built well enough that it never really gets repetitive. The parkour freerunning system also has always impressed me. Of course, there are those frustrating times when Kenway might choose to climb a completely different obstacle than you intended, but those times are pretty rare. There are quite a few awesome weapons added to the Assassin's arsenal this time around. The rope darts, for instance, were a great addition to the weaponry in this installment. But what truly sets this game apart from the other games in the series is the ship battles. The naval combat is incredible. Crippling enemies with cannon shots and then boarding the enemy ships in order to fight them with hand-to-hand combat is fantastically fun. The sheer fact that most of the time you can climb aboard your ship and sail away without ever having to scroll through a menu is amazing. The game plays beautifully, but I do have a few criticisms that I'd like to point out. I dislike that at times entering specific cities such as Havana requires a menu when you want to leave or enter the city. This was an unfortunate break in the immersion for me. Yet another break of immersion is when you finish a naval battle. The start of a naval battle requires no menu, but when you have finished boarding an enemy, a completion menu pops up. This menu pauses the game and forces you to choose an option to complete the boarding process. This whole boarding menu business just feels a little bit sloppy to me. Another thing that I fail to understand about the naval battles is that while you are attacking multiple ships, you can board one of the enemy ships before crippling or destroying the rest of the enemy fleet. In other words, completely unscathed enemy ships sail around you while you swashbuckle and kill the crew of one of their allies. It would be a lot better and more realistic if these enemies tried to stop you while you wreaked havoc to their friends and countrymen. My final criticism of the naval combat is the lack of enemy variety that you face on the high seas. I found it disheartening that once I had upgraded the Jackdaw to a certain point, all enemy ships became pretty easy to destroy. Even the pirate hunters, that were meant to stop me once I gained enough pirate notoriety, were pretty easy to defeat. The worst thing was the predictability of the types of pirate hunters dispatched after me. Once you hit each level of notoriety, you know exactly what is coming after you. The predictability of all the ships in the Caribbean is kind of disappointing. There are legendary ships that lie in wait at the four corners of the map, and they are quite the challenge to defeat. But as a player, you know exactly where they are going to be at all times, as they remain at the four corners of the map. I would have liked it better if there were somewhere around 10 legendary ships instead of 4, and that they roamed around the map. At the early stages of the game, encountering a certain legendary ship would mean death if one chose to fight. It's disappointing that sailing away from enemies in a fierce escape is not really something that you ever have to do in this game. I sincerely believe that the choice to fight or flee should be a theme in any pirate adventure game. I've had a lot to say negative about the gameplay of Black Flag, but it's only because I see the game's true potential. It went above and beyond the naval combat in comparison to any other pirate game, but I can just see it going so much further. I really hope that perhaps Ubisoft has plans to create a pirate video game series based upon the engine of Black Flag. If they built upon this game, they could have something magical on their hands. The graphics of this game on the PS4 are beautiful. The blue-green of the water is truly enchanting. Every island has its unique flavor, and boy were the landscapes pleasing to the eyes. This is a gorgeous open-world game. The music composed by Brian Tyler is incredible for a pirate game. The track called Modernity is a hauntingly beautiful song that made me feel epic as I roamed the cities of Kingston and Nassau. The action music was spectacular too. It really makes you feel like a badass pirate swashbuckling aboard an enemy vessel. The musical score of the game sets the tone extremely well. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is the pirate adventure that I've been waiting for. Ubisoft did so much right with their pirate installment of an extraordinarily popular series. The naval combat was very well done, but like everything great, it has the potential to be even better. The story of Edward Kenway was exciting and interesting. The islands and waters of the Caribbean were beautifully rendered, and Brian Tyler's musical score added a depth to each and every scene.